Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. We are in Jeddah this weekend and you know what that means. Chaos, close calls and seriously, fast racing. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix has a habit of producing edge of your seat drama and this year looks no different. The DRS zones always prove super effective here and multiple drivers already kissed the barriers during practice sessions. Grip is unpredictable, the margins are razor thin and one mistake can end it all. Buckle up because this is going to be fun. As we know, many teams got some upgrades, right? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so as far as we know, 7 out of 10 teams have brought upgrades. The only ones that haven't brought any upgrades are Mercedes, Williams, and Alpine. And most of the upgrades that have been brought are performance upgrades, with some of them having also a cocktail of performance and reliability upgrades. So, at least from the first couple of practice sessions, we don't see a lot of difference in the grid that's going to form tonight. But yeah, I mean, it's still some upgrades, and I think we should see primarily some shake-up in the midfield. But that being said, starting at the top, McLaren still looking like they're in a rocket ship, for especially
Absolutely.
during the second practice session. Since the first practice session, because of the upgrades, was mostly a sort of installation practice session where they were testing whether the car is nicely put together at the beginning stage of the session, and then slowly easing into more performance runs. So FP2 is slightly more representative. Again, this is like commenting on the whole season based off of testing, preseason testing. So it's not the be all and end all, but FP2 does give us a lot of insight into what it's going to be like. And McLaren is shining bright. They're looking like they're going to break the sound barrier tonight during qualifying. And Lando looks to be the quickest, man. I mean, Oscar has cooled off a little bit.
Right. Well, if there's one team that has the full package here, it's McLaren. And I feel Lando Norris looked a bit more comfortable in the early sessions, but both he and Piastri are dancing on the edge because even though they have the package, the margin of error in Jeddah is too thin, man. It's you are extremely close to those barriers, and even though Piastri kissed the barrier in FP2, so they are still trying to find that balance, but obviously they are the team to beat. I feel both drivers are doing really well. Lando will be more pleased with his practice sessions runs, and he's performing slightly better than Oscar Piastri, so that should give him more confidence as we are very close to qualifying as well as race now. So I think both look determined to stay ahead, but it will be very interesting to see which driver will come in front.
Yeah, and speaking of kissing the barriers, one of the Red Bull drivers did a little more than kissing. One of them just straight up made out with the barrier. And
Right.
in the very same corner, Max did it in 2021 as well, although he gave a minor peck.
Verstappen absolutely flying, the championship leader. He is 8 points up on Lewis Hamilton going into this race weekend. Hamilton and Bottas at the moment are first and second on the front row as Bottas goes second fastest. But Verstappen can spoil the Mercedes party and ruin that 1-2 as he hits the wall right at the final corner.
But yeah, after Yuki's comment that he could beat Max earlier this week if he understood the car a little bit better in a couple of races' time, it looks like those comments were a little bit too ambitious given this incident, but at least he did it in a practice session and not the qualifying session.
Right. I mean, Tsunoda was having a fantastic session per se until the final corner because yeah, that hit him back, and it is almost poetic to say the least because we saw Max doing that in qualifying
Yeah,
session of 2021, and it's the same corner where Tsunoda did that, and he made that comment that if he
right.
gets the better understanding of that car, he can do better than Verstappen. So yeah, but I
Yeah.
feel Sonoda will be slightly pleased with the way he's doing,
Uh-huh.
with the way he's performing right now, because he was very close to Max Verstappen in FP1 as well, and in FP2 he was in top 10. So he's doing much better compared to the other second drivers we have seen. So
Mhm.
it will be an interesting case where how he will perform, especially after that crash. Hopefully he doesn't slow down because sometimes that gives you a headache that maybe you are pushing this car to a crazy limit, which is something that you should not do. So I hope he takes it's just one-off mistake, and he continues to perform at higher level and be as close to Max Verstappen as possible, because Red Bull need both drivers when you know McLaren is on another level. So
Yeah,
if both drivers can come close to McLaren, then definitely they can give some headache to McLaren,
that's
especially
right.
in race. So that's their goal. And let's see, because Max looks determined, but the Red Bull isn't looking as bulletproof as we have seen in previous years. So it will be an interesting case to see, but expect fireworks from Max when it counts. That's how I always sees it.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we are seeing from Red Bull side. Now let's move to Ferrari, because Leclerc has been on it all weekend, I feel. He looks confident, aggressive, and planted in the corners.
Mhm.
But it hasn't been flawless from all means when it comes to Ferrari this season. So they are still trying to cover that gap which they have with McLaren's, but I feel they will be slightly happier, especially at Leclerc's side. Not sure about Hamilton, because he's
Yeah.
still trying to find that balance, right?
Yeah, and so this is a very good point of comparison because the Red Bull is an uncooperative car, right? We've heard that the balance is just not right and it's a very jittery and twitchy car. And recently we discovered through commentary and through Leclerc's preferences that he likes an oversteery car, which is a little bit dangerous to say the least in this specific track, because this track is better suited for a slightly understeery car, because there are so many fast corners you don't want the tail to kick out suddenly on you. So it's a massive show of talent from him that he designs the balance of his car to be a little bit oversteery, but he's still on that knife's edge. He's doing this well, and he's consistently been in the top 5 through the practice sessions as well, especially FP2. So clearly he's more comfortable than Lewis in the car, especially with all the upgrades that came in Bahrain and Jeddah.
I feel Ferrari is close, but they need to be slightly sharper. But
Right.
if they nail it, then I feel they are the podium contenders, and they are looking for that first podium of 2025 season. So let's see how that goes. And if you really want to see Ferrari on podium, or if you really want to see them winning those races, then I feel it's high time that you should smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell icon, because you don't want to miss our post-race chaos as well, because that will definitely come in this race. Now,
Yeah.
moving to Mercedes. What are your thoughts about Mercedes? They looked stronger on the medium tires, but not that well on soft tires, right? Because George Russell, we have seen, we call him Mr. Consistent now, but he's not at that top end, which we have seen from last 3-4 races, right?
Yeah, and especially during session 1 of practice, he was on an absolute heater with the medium tires, but the softs just felt like they were dropping off on him, which is a concern if you don't treat your soft tires the right way during the first sector. It sort of ruins the rest of the lap as well. But there is sort of a carry on effect, which is what he was suffering from, which means that he's not able to get a great understanding of what the softs are going to do in this first sector, which is very important because the first sector has that crazy chicane right after the straight where a lot of drama happens, right? And he's going to need those crucial corners to challenge the McLarens, as he has done almost every weekend so far. And even if he wants to eke out a win through some drama or through some racing incident or through just sheer driving, I think he needs to do a little bit better on the softs. But I mean, compared to Kimi Antonelli, he looks a lot more comfortable. I mean, Kimi has been
True.
great so far, but it doesn't look like he's that comfortable here. His driving style feels a little bit nervous, you know.
Right. It looks like he's fighting the car on
Yeah.
every lap in Jeddah. And
Yeah.
that's very dangerous on this track, I feel. So if they can unlock more pace on the soft compound to fight at the front, I think that's their main goal. But definitely their race pace looks much better, and they can definitely fight with at least Ferraris or Red Bulls. So let's see if they can move closer to McLaren. I think that's the goal for every team at the moment, to be as close to McLaren as possible. But right now, I think it's a mixed bag for both drivers. But let's see how they will come back. But talking about the team who performed really well in FP2, or I should say one driver who performed extremely well, especially in FP1. I mentioned FP2, but in both practice sessions, he performed really well. Pierre Gasly. So,
What
I'll
a
be honest.
legend.
Yeah, I think people will get bored of Pierre Gasly's dominance.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
We're
He
calling
topped
it right
FP1
now.
session.
He's
So
probably
if
going to
anyone
top
missed
the
that
whole
part,
season as well.
yeah, imagine the scenes. Alpine topping FP1. Maybe Oscar Piastri will call Alpine that, hey, I wanted to join Alpine only. It's a mistake. But jokes apart, Pierre Gasly topping FP1 was not on my bingo card. And we do say FP1 is not a representative session, but they look very, I should say, they look dialed in to perform better, and they should definitely be in the points contention if everything goes to the plan, right? Because Gasly looked balanced and quick, and the car seemed to be working beautifully under him. But
Yeah.
not so sure about Jack Doohan, who is struggling and hasn't clicked with the car he has right now, right?
Yeah, and that's why I think Doohan was sort of not even a conversation point during the practice sessions either, because he was just simply not making an impression or doing anything insane. And that is
Right.
to say that Gasly's driving could be considered insane because he dragged a strictly midfield car to that speed. But that just clearly proves the point that even though Williams was supposed to be the best of the rest in the midfield, I think Alpine is taking the fight to Williams. And even though they don't have as many points, I think this is going to be one of the most heated battles. Up at the top, the competition is a little bit more skewed towards McLaren, but down in the middle, it looks like Alpine is catching up sheerly through Gasly. And they
Right.
might give Williams a huge headache.
True. But the only advantage which Williams have at the moment is I feel both drivers, Sainz and Albon, looked quick. And both drivers will be eyeing Q3 for sure, because I feel they are dialed in and they are finding that grip which maybe Jack Doohan is not finding it. So it will be more like Gasly versus both Williams drivers if everything goes according to the script. So let's see. I feel Williams can't be ignored for that points if we say that top four teams have occupied those 8 positions. So both drivers would be eyeing for that P9, P10, because they also look better compared to what we saw in Bahrain, right? They are
Yeah.
looking to cover those points which they may have lost in Bahrain, I feel.
Yeah, and Sainz did say just before the race, and when he had the contact with the Red Bull driver Yuki, and he was ultimately DNFing because of the hole in that sidepod. He did before the race say that he's developing a sort of comfort and friendship with the car. He's sort of more in tune with how to make the car cooperate with his driving style, and he looked great. He did look great
Right.
for a bit there.
Right. So let's see. I think Williams will be there with Gasly.
Mhm.
But talking about another team who are, I guess, slowly fading after a very hot start to the season, Racing Bulls. They were regularly in the points early on, but here in Jeddah, they seem to be drifting away from that tight midfield, right? Could be a
Yeah.
setup issue, could be that comfort issue which they are not getting. And I don't think even Lawson or Hajar are comfortable in that car at the moment, right? Because they are nowhere close to top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, it just feels like both. Okay, we can discount Hajar in this conversation because this is his first race in Jeddah in an F1 car. Same for Lawson, I believe, but
Right.
Lawson has a little bit more F1 experience, right? It's not a huge differentiator, but it does make a world of difference in terms of comfort, where your willingness inside your heart to push beyond the limits of the car on a dangerous track such as Jeddah. He is supposed to be just a little bit better, but it just looks like he does not have that confidence anymore. And
Right.
you
I
cannot
think that
therefore
could be the
blame
confidence
Hajar as
issue
well.
as well here.
Exactly. And that's why you cannot blame Hajar for not doing well as well. I think after Jeddah, maybe they regroup a little bit, Racing Bulls huddle up a little bit, have a discussion internally, and they do better in the next race. But I don't think we're gonna see a lot of action from them. Unlike maybe Haas, maybe we see them pull the rabbit out of the bag again.
Right. But I feel their one lap pace was pretty underwhelming. Like we have usually seen the season where their one lap pace was not that great, but when it comes to those race runs, they'd perform really well. And we know Bearman made his debut in Jeddah. He had that confidence with the Ferrari. Although it although it took some 5-10 laps to get a comfort of that car as well. But it will be an interesting case because if they don't qualify that well, then overtaking here will be slightly tough in that tight midfield battle. So let's see.
Yeah.
They are still trying to find that performance in that one lap pace, which in Bahrain they definitely performed better and they got those points. So it will be an interesting case whether Ocon and Bearman can extract some performance in qualifying so that they are in that top 10 battle or close to those points. And if there's that opportunity to grab those points again, like how we are seeing from past 2-3 races where Haas is just regularly knocking on the doors to get those points, right?
Yeah. And another team that I don't think, forget about one lap pace or the race pace or anything, any kind of pace you can forget for the 2 minutes of discussion we're about to have on this team, is Sauber. Still not looking like they have anything to show for in terms of a good car. And again, we're
Right.
not trash talking them, but it's a back marker team, right? This is just the way it goes for them.
Hey, there's one more team we haven't mentioned, so I won't call them back marker just yet. But I feel Hulkenberg is trying his best to extract every ounce of performance that is possible from that car because he looked much better in those practice sessions. But we can't say for Bortoleto because he barely did any run because there was a fuel leak and that just restricted him to do any lap in FP2. So that's a massive blow for a rookie, I feel. And especially at a track like this. So it will be an interesting case for both Sauber drivers. I feel Hulkenberg will try his level best to extract as much performance as possible, like we are saying for every other driver. But let's
It's
see.
like Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the mountain, right? It's a infinitely uphill journey for a Hulkenberg. It's no matter how
Right.
hard he tries, how much can a human being do, right?
True. But I feel Kicksauber might have just one bullet in the chamber, and that's Hulkenberg. And that's what they are trying to use in this season in a way right now because
Yeah.
they are not getting that much performance from Bortoleto side. And we are not blaming Bortoleto here. He's doing whatever it's possible, but he's not getting that confidence and that support from the car. But like we know, Hulkenberg is that experienced driver. He always extracts those performance, especially from a midfield. So let's see what Kicksauber can do. But coming to Aston Martin, I don't know, man. And the sad part is this is the only team slower than last season, and by nearly a second. Like we saw all the data, every team has done better from what they have performed in FP2, but Aston Martin, the car looks unstable and underwhelming, and there's no sugarcoating it. And there were rumors that they're trying to hijack Max Verstappen in 2026. And if Max is watching this, he's probably saying, yeah, I'm good in Red Bull. I don't want to join this team, man. But even if you have Newey and Honda in the horizon, and that's the performance you are bringing for 2025, how will you attract Max Verstappen to join in 2026, man? Because it's so disappointing to see they're fighting at the rear end right now. And there are no massive upgrades to show that maybe this car will move forward. Maybe there will be a different story in future, but at the moment they are close to Sauber, or we can call them at the backmarker, and that's something I don't want to call because that's the team I support. But it's a sad story right now, and neither Alonso nor Stroll can extract any performance, and that's very disappointing to say right now.
That is very fair, and almost out of respect for you, I don't want to trash talk Aston Martin, but these are the facts. Like, how much of a sales pitch based on Honda engines can you give to Max? Because at some point he'll just say, "Nahi, main Honda City chala leta hu." Probably that's faster than your car.
Facts, bro, facts. And there are no comments right now, but they definitely need some upgrades because I can't see Lawrence Stroll being silent with that performance.
Yeah,
We
but
know how.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also we did hear this time around during the practice sessions, the commentators did say that, as we predicted, Aston Martin is focusing on the 2026 season. So
Right.
that is something to look forward to for you with the regulation changes and everything. I think you have something to look forward to. Maybe it's not going to be a depressing year next year for you, and maybe we'll see Mercedes, McLaren, and Aston Martin duking it out at the top.
Probably I should go and sleep for 1 year, and then maybe you can hear more thoughts from my
I'll
side on
wake
this
you
chat.
up when September ends. No worries.
Uh, well, let's see. I hope there are some surprises for 2025. Let's see. But I think that wraps it up for us, where we have talked about every team and we are coming to our favorite section, which are the predictions. So
Right.
I'll leave it on you. Give your predictions. What are your thoughts for this
Uh,
race?
at the risk of sounding incredibly boring or incredibly biased, I do think Lando is going to take pole, and I do think that Oscar will be P2. However, I will throw in the caveat that maybe Max sort of splits the McLarens and he's going into turn one, he's in a McLaren sandwich. But I think Lando does take pole, and I think as for the race finish order, it could probably be Lando, Oscar, and Max. I don't think
Okay.
Mr. Consistent is going to pull something out of the bag here, because it just doesn't look like he's that secure in the car. And lastly, my out of pocket prediction is I think Yuki is going to get knocked out in Q2, but also he might DNF, because it just looks like he's pushing the car a little bit too much. So either he's going to be very slow, or he's going to try to uh, fake his confidence and make a mistake.
Interesting. I think those are some good predictions which can come out true. Maybe 100%, to be honest. So let's see. From my predictions, I think this may surprise you, but I feel Max Verstappen will be able to extract that performance and will get that lap which he really wanted to recreate in 2021,
Oh
and
wow.
will recreate that in 2025 to get that pole position. I know it's very ambitious compared to what we
Yeah.
see from McLaren's side, but I feel he will get that pole lap today. That's my prediction. Whether it will happen or not, but you just can't count out Max, man. He
Yeah.
always extracts 200%, not even 100%. So I feel Max Verstappen can get that pole position, but I don't think he will win this race. That's how I feel at the moment. I feel this is the race where Lando Norris will bounce back and show that, yes, I am still that championship leader, and will get that P1 in the race. And maybe Oscar Piastri will be there with Lando Norris, P2 for Lando, or P2 for Oscar Piastri, making it another 1-2 for McLaren. And that's an ideal situation for them. But I think Verstappen will make some mistake or will be involved in some issues with the other drivers. So I don't think he will be on podium. I'm going with let's put Leclerc, because Ferrari really needs that podium. I'm going with an ambitious
Just pure
podium.
vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Pure on vibes. Let's keep it that way. But Jeddah is famous for bringing some out of the box results. So I feel we will get 1-2 for McLaren and Leclerc for P3. And for top 5, I'm going against your prediction and I'm saying Tsunoda will be in top 5.
Oh wow. Okay, fair enough. Let's see how this goes then.
I think there's a high possibility one of us will do really well and the
Yeah, yeah.
other one will be like, what was that, man? Those predictions were so horrible. I think that would be me. But let's see. I hope Jeddah can surprise us. But I
Yeah.
think those are the predictions. And that's our full Saudi Arabian Grand Prix preview. If you made it this far, please hit that like button, smash subscribe, and please, what are you waiting for? You need those notifications, man. Please press that bell icon as well, so that you are always updated and you never miss these raw and insightful talks. Hopefully those are insightful talks. And we are excited for this Jeddah Grand Prix, and we hope when we are back to cover this race, we will have too many topics to talk about. So see you all, and let the chaos begin. Bye guys.